everyone, it's Debbie from cariadcards.co. Thank you very much for joining me today. And today I'm going to be showing you how I made this card. Now this card is made from the Lotus Blossom set and it's a Sale-a-bration item. That means you can get this gorgeous, gorgeous stamp set absolutely free. Can you believe that? Free. All you need to do is spend £45 from the current catalogue or from the spring summer catalogue, and you can choose this free. It's unbelievable for such a beautiful stamp set. So I'm going to show you how I used it, and if you can see the beautiful depth of colour, it uses 3-stage stamping and it's incredibly easy to do because it's a photopolymer stamp. I haven't got to be messing around with pieces of vellum. I can just stamp straight onto the card. So we're going to start off with a 6" by 6" card blank, and unusually I've decided to do 3 layers. I normally just work with 2, but the colours in this are so gorgeous that I just wanted to pick out the deeper colour in one of the layers and one of the lighter colours. So I've got a rose red layer which I've cut to 14 centimetres by 14 centimetres, or 5.5 inches by 5.5 inches. I've got a piece of Blushing Bride cardstock cut to 13.5 centimetres by 13.5, or 5.25 by 5.25, and a piece of Whisper White cardstock cut to 13 centimetres by 13 centimetres, and I think that is, let me just double check, that's just over, it's about 5 1/4, no, not 5 1/4, 5 1/8 by 5 1/8. I will put the sizes on my blog for you. So I'm going to start off by doing the stamping, and we've got 3 stamps we're going to be using: stamp 1, stamp 2, stamp 3. Now normally when you do 2-step or 3-step stamping, you tend to start with the solid block first and work up, but this time round we start with the sort of highlighting stamp and work that way. So we start 1, 2, 3. Now as I said, they're photopolymer stamps and I've mounted them onto an acrylic block. As I've mentioned to you before in many other videos, if you use a dark colour they will stain, but that doesn't matter. If you just give them a clean, the staining will stay, but it's not going to affect your stamped image in any way, shape or form. Now all of the stamps have these little notches, all 3 of them, so it gives you an idea of where to overlay the stamp, but to be honest, because they are photopolymer, they're very easy to work out where to put them. So I'm going to use my rose red ink pad. Now normally I would recommend that you leave a little bit of time between stamping each colour, because you do risk smudging the colours if you don't let it dry. Now because of the purpose of the video I'm going to have to go ahead and overstamp, so there is a risk I could smudge it, but I will do my best not to. Now as you can see on this card I've got 3 blossoms and I've angled them in different ways so that they look natural on the card, like they would as a bunch of flowers. So I'm going to put my first one round about there. There's no right, no wrong. You put them wherever you would like them to be on the card. So I'm angling that now down to here, and I'm just popping a bit more ink on, and I'm going to have one about there. You can put them wherever you like. That's the beauty of stamping. Right, I get my stamp 2 and Blushing Bride. So I'm going to ink this one up. As I say, you really would be better just to let this dry. It doesn't take long, a couple of minutes, not even that, but it's probably not a good idea to stamp straight away like I am. Now, because this is photopolymer, I can overlay this directly onto the stamp. Now, this is probably a little bit more difficult for me because I'm sitting quite far back, and really you do need to be sitting, you need to be standing above or sitting above to make sure you've lined them up properly. And I don't really want to get my head onto the camera, so I'm doing this a little bit blind really, but why not have a go? And then turn that round just so I'm working in roughly the same sort of direction. Gosh, it's very strange doing it from this angle from behind, but you can see, even though I'm right back and I don't have a very good view of where I'm working, they're so easy to line up. I am definitely veering more towards photopolymers now that I've been using them more. And of course, you know, they're a very good price. So that's the card with the blushing bride. I'm hoping I'm not going to take too long to do this, but I'm trying just to give it a teeny weeny bit of time just to dry a bit. And of course, stamping onto Whisper White card, it's a beautiful, beautiful card to stamp onto. So I've now got my third stamp, and this is the solid one, and I'm working with Pink Pirouette, which is the lightest of them all. And again, I just need to make sure I'm lined up. I probably would be better, as I say, if I could see this properly. But there you go. You see, even though I'm right back here, it still looks gorgeous. So you could make this really with any three colours. You just want three coordinating colours, or you could have contrasting colours. You could put lemons or yellows and peaches. They would look lovely. They're probably not contrasting colours, but you know what I mean. You don't have to have exactly the same colours. You can have different colours. Oh, aren't they gorgeous? Love, love, love those colours together. I really do. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is the stems. Now again, these come as two-stage stamping. You've got sort of a bobbly one there, which will be the first stage, and then a more solid one there. And I've used Wild Wasabi and Pear Pizzazz. So Wild Wasabi is my darker one and Pear Pizzazz as my lighter one. So I'm going to ink up, first of all, my Wild Wasabi, and I'm getting ink all over my fingers, which is a very bad thing to do because it always ends up transferring. Okay, I'm going to start with this bottom one first, and I'm just going to line that up sort of in there and just drop it down. And then here, whoops, I'd got a bit of ink, I think, on the outside. I can see a tiny bit on the flower, but you probably won't be able to see it from the film. Now, what I'm going to do, because I want to pick up my stem from around here, but I don't want to get any on the card, or not any more than I've already got. So I've just cut a piece of scrap card. I've put a curve in it just so I can find about the best place to overlay, and I'm going to overlay that petal just with this scrap card so I don't run any risk of getting the green onto it. And I obviously want to miss this petal here as well. So there. So what that's enabled me to do is to get a bit of green going up to the top and some green coming from underneath the petal. Oh goodness me, I'm making a right hoo-hash of this. I'm getting ink everywhere. This is the problem of, let's say, not sort of allowing everything to dry. And there. So that really was just a bit of eyeballing it, seeing where I wanted it to go. Now I'm going to change the Pear Pizzazz, and oh, I seem to have ink everywhere. I didn't get this with my first card. I took my time and just let it all dry. So I may just have to see what we can cover up. Always cover up mistakes. So I've just overlaid that with the solid image, and then you may not be able to see it very well on the camera, but what I've ended up with is a very subtle shaded effect. It really does show, especially if you choose inks that have enough difference in them. Now I think for safety's sake I'm not going to try and hit the top of that petal. I'm going to go from about there. So let's have a look. There we go. Sorry, that probably took a little bit longer than I intended, and I've managed to get ink smudged all over here, but do you know what? It doesn't matter. We'll put our greeting there. Can always cover things up. Now I do want to put some embossed lines around there with my Simply scoreboard, but I'm going to just give that a minute to dry before I do that. So in the meantime, I'm going to stamp up my sentiment. And the sentiment comes from the same set, from the Lotus Blossom set, and I'm going to use the thank you one. And there is another one here that says the kindness you show has no end. Isn't that a nice sentiment as well? So I've just popped the thank you one onto an acrylic block, and I'm using chocolate chip. With the pinks it's not quite as harsh as going with the black. So I'm just going to ink that up, and then again I'm going to leave that just to dry before I punch it out. So sorry about going back and forward, but it really is worth just letting things dry before you do too much to them. So we're back to this. I'm going to use my Simply scoreboard that you've seen me use on many occasions. Hopefully this is dry enough by now. Sort of looking at it, I can't see any obvious wet places. So I'm going to lay this upside down. Simply scoreboard with my stylus. Pop my stylus into one of the grooves near the edge. I'm not going right up to the edge, I'm leaving about 1/8 of an inch above and below. And the reason for that is I'm going to turn my card 90 degrees and then pick up from where I finished off last time, go down again, finish about 1/8 of an inch. It's not an exact measurement, but just roughly, and you'll find they do seem to match up. Again, turn it 90 degrees, go down, and the final time, line it up 90 degrees and go down. Okay, so we've now got that stamped, we've got it embossed. Hopefully the light will catch that, just so you can see that I have got the embossed line on it. So we're going to start to put the card together now. I've got these beautiful colours of card. This, oh, I just love it. It's such a gorgeous colour. I'm, as ever, using my bit of glue. If I don't pop any there, it obviously won't stick. Not putting too much on, but just enough to adhere it down. You can use snail, double-sided, fast fuse, or anything else that you like to stick with. You can even use dimensionals if you want to add a bit of extra height, although be wary not to put all of the nails on dimensionals or it might end up a little bit too big. Okay, and this is my Blushing Bride layer, which I'm just going to pop on top of that. These colours work so well together. Gorgeous. And then finally my stamped layer, and make sure I keep missing bits, and obviously there's no glue, it's not going to stick. Lovely jubbly. And then got a little bit of movement there, just to make sure we've got it as lined up as we can get it. Beautiful. Right, now if you remember, I had stamped out my sentiment, so I'm just going to use my oval punch. Now this is the old-fashioned whale style punch. The modern ones are the flatter ones that you tend to see me using regularly now. I just happen to have a couple of the older ones and they still work perfectly well. It seems a shame really to upgrade them when they still work, although I shall have to one day. But there is nothing wrong with these, they work fine. But obviously if you choose to buy an oval punch, you will get the new version. So Whisper White card, I've just oval punched that, and I've got my scalloped oval punch, which again is the old-fashioned one, but it works perfectly fine. So I've just got some Blushing Bride card there, just so I can add a bit of a highlight to my greeting. And then I'm going to pop a bit of glue onto the back here. Just so I can stick that. Right, now that's where I would like to put it, just so, as I did with the other card, because I think it covers the stems up nicely, but I did make a bit of a hash down here, so I'm just deciding. I still prefer it there, so I think what I'm going to do is maybe go and get a couple of candy dots or maybe a couple of little flowers just to put down in the corner, because as I've said to you many times before, you never do anything wrong on a card. There is always a way, or pretty much always a way, of fixing it. Don't ever throw anything away that you've made that you think, oh, don't like that. Just maybe walk away from it for a while, come back, and you'll find something that you can do. Ooh, oh dear me, didn't put it on straight. Okay, so is that about right? Yeah. Okay, I'm just going to go and fetch a candy dot or a punch. I shall be back in a moment after I've decided what I'm going to pop down there. Right, I don't know whether you did see the bloopers. That was completely me being not as careful as I could be with the edges of my acrylic blocks. So I did get these couple of marks transferred that obviously I want to cover up. So what I've decided to do is just use my little flower punch from my Itty Bitty Accents, get the set of 3, and I've punched out 3 flowers, one in Pink Pirouette, one in Blushing Bride, and one in Rose Red. And I've just shaped them with my paper piercing tool, as you've seen me do many times before, and popped a little rhinestone in there. And then I'm just going to put a glue dot on the back of them and just put them down, making sure that I turn them just at the angle I need to completely cover those very silly stamped mistakes. And as long as nobody's seen this video who gets the card, they won't know there's an error on there. They'll just think they've got some very pretty little adorning accents. So there we have the blooper-free card. And there we have, and actually I quite like it now that I've done that. There we've got the card with the little extra embellishments that were unplanned, but I think work very well. So thank you very much for joining me, Debbie, from cariadcards.co.